is on point, your camera is on point. My goodness, I also need that laptop, eh? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in and availing yourselves to this wonderful live online learning session. USEC stands for UNISA Science Engagement Center, and we are on M1, which is Unit 3. For those of you who missed Unit 1 and 2, kindly please ensure that you are a registered MOOC portal user so that you can get our recordings. And for those who are watching this recording, thank you so much. To our live participants, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this session. Without wasting time, I'll hand over to Meneer Johannes for the house rules.
Sorry, my microphone had some problems. Welcome everybody to today's session. We only have a few small house rules for today. We would like to ask everybody to please mute your cameras to save data and bandwidth. Also, to mute your microphones to keep all the background noise to minimum. If anybody has a question at any point in time, please feel free to raise your hand. Or if you have some mic problems, please put it into the chat area. And there will be question and answer sessions between the presentations. And all the recordings will be available on the USEC MOOC portal. And I'll hand over to you, Dr. Gous.
Thank you very much. We are now trying to figure out the sound on this phone, on this laptop, but anyway. All right. So today we are going to, there we go. My goodness, this thing is very slow. Why is the camera not working again? Oh, there we go. All right. So today we've got 4 units in total, and we've done unit 1 and 2. So that was about building the basic robot, and we can go back on that, but building just a robot with wheels. And then we started on the programming, and Sylvia will do some revision on the programming after the session. And all right, so the third unit is about how do we solve the problems for the robot? How do we actually take a problem, transpose it into a program and a robot, and then make the robot as the solution? All right, so I'm going to go through the presentation. You are more than welcome to ask questions, and Tumelo and Casper are in the lobby and watching that. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And I just need confirmation that you can see my slides.
Yes, Dr.
Excellent. Okay, so we're on. Thank you, Casper. We're on problem solving today. All right. So the whole thing of building a robot and making the robot actually move is to make sure it can navigate. And so navigation is, for a robot, is just the very fundamentals of it is without any sensors, navigation is moving forwards and moving backwards, moving left and moving right. So by way of introduction, I am Patricia Gous. The ICT engagement is with Cabello, and Anzani and Tumelo are communications, and then Casper is the producer of all the productions, and Anzani is collecting the analytics as well. So also we have a team approach. This is an ICT Robotics live online learning session. We do have the recordings. They are available on the MOOC portal, and any MOOC queries you can address to Tumelo, and any other general queries you can address to Anzani. We're just doing the basics this week, and so that's why it's M1. There is also a portfolio that is required as on the assignment. But really the journey has started. We've started with the building, we've started with the programming, and kind of now we're moving on. And if you've missed the first 2 sessions, nothing is lost. I'm sure you will catch up. All right, and the purpose of these classes is then to equip you, the coaches, wherever you are, to coach learners in robotics, and we really encourage you to ask lots and lots and lots of questions. All right. So where is robotics? Robotics is always the intersection of engineering and programming. And what happens between engineering and programming is then these 21st century skills. These include problem solving, which is the focus for today, creativity, innovation, critical thinking, a lot of imagination. It's not the normal same old, same old. For this session, we use either the EV3 robotics kit or the Spike Prime robotics kit. The software is freely downloadable from the internet, and you can install it on your computer. And for the robots, we're just starting with straightforward motorized robots. All right. And so that's what the focus of these 4 sessions is. In terms of robotics kits, these are the 2 that we have currently. So up until January of last year, in the midst of COVID, this was our EV3 robot. There are the kits. There are all the pieces. There are the sensors, the brain, the motors, and there are all the pieces that we use. And then in January of last year, they launched the new robot called the Spike Prime robot. It's also got pieces. Was it 2 years ago? Oh my goodness. It's got all the same pieces, but very much more colorful. Very colorful, and you'll see even the container is much more colorful. But either way, it can work, and you can also use, you can mix the pieces as well. It's beams and axles and wheels and, you know, all the technology pieces. All right. So what is then navigation? Robot navigation is defined as the ability of the robot actually to move in an environment. And so the robots that we know, like the robot that went to Mars and the robots that move around, say in hospitals, the robot moves autonomously. It has been programmed to do so. A robot cannot move unless you, as the programmer, actually move the robot. Okay. And you can go onto the internet and go and see, so what are the other definitions of robot navigation, where the robots move and how do robots move? For now, we're just considering the wheeled robot. So it's by the rotation of the motors, but really robot navigation can be wheels, can be multiple wheels, can be legs, walking. Yeah, I can see them flying too. Okay, so also part of navigation, which is not really part of the session, is that we use sensor data in the navigation because the robot needs to know where it is. Well, know where it is depends on the measurements from the sensor. But nonetheless, that data does contribute to effective navigation. All right. Odometry data. Odometry is where the robot is more aware of where it is and how it's turning and where it's going up and where it's going down. And a good exercise would be to list the robot navigation techniques that can be used by a robot. Okay, and then what is the definition of autonomous robot navigation, where a robot can actually move on its own, provided it's programmed. All right. So on the MOOC portal, on this MOOC for M1, there is an overview document, and in the overview document, Unit 3 is problem solving. And this is all set out there. So the process of problem solving, there's always many steps. You've got to define the problem, and then you've got to work through the possible solutions, and then you've obviously got to select the best solution. And the problem solving skills that are important is obviously these 21st century skills. You've got to be able to collaborate. You've got to be able to talk to each other. You have to be able to solve the problem. And then there are many steps, and the many steps I'm going to show you now. All right. In terms of techniques, as we go along, you'll see a lot of drawing, a lot of listening, not so much talking. You've got to listen to other people. You can do brainstorming, 1 sentence per person around a table, but you do need to give everybody on the team an opportunity. All right. So there are, for each unit, there are always activities that you can do, and I'm really encouraging you to try some of these activities with your learners. Maybe try them before on your own, or just throw it to the learners and say, let's see what we can do together as a team. Get the robot or program the robot to draw the first letter of your first name. Okay, so for a P, it'll be straight up, and then you've got to turn the robot. And S is a little bit more curvy, and then it makes an S. I think the people whose names start with the letter L have got it really easy because it's straight down and then you turn. But try different things. Put big pieces of paper down and see what the robot can draw. And you stick a pen on the side of your robot, and then you let it draw your name. Okay. The other activity you can do is, how does the robot move around a square shoebox? A rectangular shoebox is normally 2 long sides and 2 short sides, but a square one, you do the same thing 4 times. A rectangular, you've got to do a short side, a long side, the short side, the long side. Yeah. And then of a circle, you've got to keep it turning at a given angle to go round the bucket. All right. Lots of activities, but all to reinforce the navigation of a robot, making the robot do things. Now, the thing about problem solving is that it really is a 21st century skill. And the whole purpose of robotics is to develop these problems, these 21st century skills, but it requires practice. And there's definitely no in the textbook answer, not in the back of your book. And so robotics always requires patience and perseverance, and I think more from the learners than from the coaches. But you as coaches, you need to be really aware of this. It's going to take time. These learners need time to do it. It's not a 45-minute lesson that you can go in, open your books, write some notes, sit down, and the lesson is done. I would not go shorter than 2 hours. 1 hour, 1.5 hours is really pushing it. But you need to give learners the space to discover and to solve problems and to learn these skills, or to develop these skills. All right. So there is a lot of literature about using robotics to teach problem solving. I prefer to say to develop the skills of problem solving. Okay. Because problem solving requires practical collaborative teamwork. You need to be able to discover. You cannot memorize the correct answer. And please do not get learners to rote learn correct answers. They rather need to understand what is the problem, what can be observed, and then kind of what is required for success. Where are we going to have a solution? And so the problem takes many forms. It can be a small activity, it can be a larger challenge, it can be scoring points in a robotics competition on different levels. Whatever it is, the learners need to, on the one hand, think of what is the engineering, and on the other hand, they need to think, okay, so what is the programming involved in that? Okay, so here we go. Where we go? Well, where are we? So we have a robot. Everybody has a robot, and the robot can move, and we understand navigation. So the PS part is there. Yes, I know we can do it with ultrasonics, and we can do it with color sense. I know that. But for now, we're not there. We have just got a robot with 2 motors and a brain. Okay, and we need to program the robot to understand navigation. And I think for all coaches, this lesson can morph into 2 or 3 sessions until the learners really get what you're talking about. So whenever you do problem solving, you've always got to say, so what is given, like what is known and what is required? So where are we going? Okay, and we're going to just do navigation for wheeled robots at the moment. All right. So you know where the robot is, where you put the robot down, that's where it's going to start. Then you ask the question, so where must the robot end? Okay, and then what do you need to do to make sure that it moves from here to there where it has to end? And so what must happen kind of in between that? All right. So we've got a problem-solving methodology, and this was added to the list by my Fulbright scholar, Dr. Tanya Kopp, professor. She's now Professor Tanya Kopp, and she's currently in Namibia doing robotics as well. So I think she'd be quite impressed that this slide is still in our collection. It's an easy way to kind of, it says think like an engineer, but it's actually an active learning approach. It's not the one answer that you know that you can just reapply it. Okay, so sketch, get lots of paper, lots of crayons, lots of Koki pens, but sketch what you have to do, all right? And then list the objective in any order, just list the objectives, all right? Then you have to list what are the variables, what are you actually manipulating, what you're going to manipulate, the variables and the equations, and then you actually have to manipulate it. Okay, so you see, solve them is kind of, you solve them the problem. Okay, all right. So here's our first problem. So we've got the robot here at start, and we've got the robot at end. That's where it has to end, and that's the distance. So what do we know? We know where it's starting. We know the distance it has to travel, and we know, well, we've got the robot's got to move forward. But just look, so that is all we have to do. So how do we do that? Well, let's observe. It didn't say if the robot has to move forwards or backwards. Okay, so in theory, the speed of a robot should not matter. Maybe slowly is a bit more precise. So we are going to program it in terms of rotations. So we make the robot wheels rotate. So then the number of rotations will obviously depend on the size of your wheels, because if you have small wheels, you're going to have to do more rotations than if you have one big, large wheel. All right. And then the robot needs to brake at the end. That's where it's got to stop, obviously. Okay, so now we need to measure the circumference of the wheel to determine how far it goes on one rotation. And the part of the robot that is on the start line must be exactly the one that's on the stop line. And normally we add little things on the side of the wheel. I'll show you now. All right. So say we have 50 centimeters and we've measured the circumference with a piece of rope and then measured it on a ruler, and it's 17.8 centimeters. Right. Now we can calculate how many rotations we need. Okay. So we can do that calculation. So there we go. There's our equation. Circumference times numbers of rotations will give you the distance. So C times R is D. And then if we manipulate it, then we get number of rotations is distance over circumference, and the answer is 2.81. Awesome. Right. So now, so this is just on the EV3 lab version. So the software, it'll look like this. So there we're going forward with 20% power for 2.81 rotations. Or if we do move steering, both wheels must get 20% power. In move tank at 2.81.
Steering is going straight. That is straight.
That's tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here we're going both forward. All right. So now, all right. So that was example one. That's easy. It just moves forward and then it stops. Great. Now we're going to have another one. So now we've got to determine the relationship between power level and speed. Okay. So yay, we've got the same start and we've got the same end, and we've changed the distance a little bit, but we can measure distance and we can measure time, because we are looking at power level, which is your independent variable, which you're going to change on your robot, and speed, which is your dependent variable. Your speed is determined by your power level. All right. So it's hard to measure speed directly because sometimes there's that acceleration. And I think the older learners get it, because I think in grade 8 and 9, they start doing acceleration, deceleration. However, I think for now, just keep that as negligible. So the experiment needs to be repeated, obviously, with different power levels, because we are measuring how power and speed are influenced. Okay, so number of rotations must remain constant. And now we're seeing whether speed is going to increase. We think. I think all of us who have driver's licenses know that if we put more power, we're going to get a greater speed. We think so. All right. So again, we do the calculation. We've got a distance, we've got a circumference, we can do the calculations. And then we've got to run the robot for different power levels. So 10% power, 20% power, and the team's favorite is always 100% power, and see how quickly we can do it. All right. So then we've got it listed. Now we do the equations. So the equations, we've got distance, circumference times rotation. So distance, circumference times rotations, and distance is speed times time. There we've got two equations already, and luckily we can manipulate it, so we get the number of rotations for 150 seconds should be 8.43, and we can calculate the speed or the velocity as distance over time, and we can calculate that then for each power setting. Okay, tabulate it, put it in a table, and a good idea is always to graph it, and so that you'll see that over time you've got the same distance, but your time that you take with the different power levels, and then you'll get the speed. Your time is going to decrease, so then your speed will increase. Okay, so there's a really cool experiment you can do. All right, so there's lots of, like, how long is it forward, how long does it go back, how long does it turn left, how long to right. Whatever the range of navigation problems, we can always say, all right, go forward but turn right, and go forward and turn left. Whatever we're doing, these are the problems. You have to understand what the problem is to work out what the solution is. Right at the bottom, the ad hoc method is not recommended, where you just hit and run. You actually need to plan this. It's got to be done systematically. All right. So there's a whole lot of useful resources for the problem. So the missions on a challenge, that is definitely a good one, where you can choose which missions you want to solve. The building instructions are available, and there are lots of programming examples. The cool thing about this online community for robotics is that they love sharing their programming examples, and they love submitting online tutorials, and they love submitting YouTube videos. So really, I would definitely take the time and go and watch some YouTube videos and just get an idea of the kind of problems that learners are solving. All right. If you have a new team, however, be very careful that you don't overwhelm your learners. All right. Just for interest, I don't know whether anybody is interested in the literature, but there is quite a few articles about using robotics to teach problem-solving skills. Again, I don't like the word teach. I rather want to develop, because you can. It's just an ongoing process. You never just arrive. You just keep. But there are some really nice articles. If you Google problem-solving skills and robotics together. Okay. Okay, so now there is another type of problem solving on your robot, and that's the problem solving that you will need to do as the coach, because the robot doesn't always do what you think it's going to do. All right. And so you as a coach need to be able, and so this is kind of where you prepare for the lesson beforehand. You need to almost build up a checklist of what could go wrong, and definitely could go wrong. Okay, so Dr. Hino is one of my favorites. He has a whole lot of tutorials, and it's good to watch. It's good to watch. It's where the learners put 0 rotations. It's where the wires aren't connected properly. You think it's working, and then it's not. Or they pause for 0 seconds, and you wonder why it's not pausing. Is because the number is wrong. But I want to just really encourage you to watch as many videos as possible. We'll also share here on this session. We'll share some really cool videos. And don't think because your team has experience that they're not going to make these errors. Connecting wires is always an issue. Mm-hmm. And also, that said, you have to really work with the wires very gently, because they do become unstuck. They do break off. And so really, you've got to gently lift the clip and pull them out. Don't just yank them out the slot. Okay. All right. So that is now Unit 3. We've done Unit 1 and Unit 2, and we can solve navigation problems in theory. And I'm going to just pause now, and I'm going to ask, are there any questions? I'm not stopping. I'm just pausing. If I can just find the meeting. There we go. Are there any questions? Anyone? Yes.
Okay, we are now. I will speak later.
Okay. All right. Yes, Becky. How are you doing? Becky, you've muted yourself. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Doc. And good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We missed Monday, but thanks that we are going to get the recordings. We really appreciate, and we are following it very well, and it is well understandable. Thank you so much. And I hope we are going to get a guide how to get the recordings.
Becky, all the recordings are available on the MOOC portal. I'm going to hand over now to Tumelo. Tumelo, are you ready to quickly explain how to access the MOOC portal?
All right.
Okay, I'm handing over to Tumelo. He is very patient and he loves explaining this. Tumelo, all over to you.
All right. Let me quickly share my screen here.
Okay.
All right. Can you see my screen? There we go. Thank you.
Perfect.
So this is what you simply do, Peggy. You simply go onto your tab on your internet. You simply type MOOC at unisa.ac.za/portal. And then as soon as you type that, this is the page that you'll see. On this page, you click on how to register, and then there'll be PDF. That PDF just indicates the instructions of how to register for a MOOC portal. And then because this PDF is not yet updated, I'll just simply explain here. You will click on New Account. New Account, you'll find it just underneath the UNISA logo. When you click on New Account, this is the page that you'll find. And then on New Account, you just create your own user ID, your first name, last name, your email address, and then create your own password. After creating your own password, when you go back to the home page, you remember you would have created your own user ID as well as your password. Then you simply click on login. After clicking on login, this is the first page that you'll see. On this page, just underneath the UNISA logo, you click on membership. After membership, this is the page that you'll see. Next to the UNISA logo again, just here on membership, it's written my current sites, my official course enrollments, as well as joinable sites. Now you would click on joinable sites. When you click on joinable sites, this is the page that you'll see. And then you'll be scrolling down looking for ISET Robotics M1 2022. If you can't find it here, you'll go here just next to your name. Click on ISET Robotics M1. After clicking on ISET Robotics M1, you click on search, and then you should find it. But because of I have already enrolled for this course, it won't show. So after clicking on join, you go to your My Current Sites. On My Current Sites, you should be able to find ISET Robotics M1 2022. So these are some of the MOOC portals that I've joined as well. So after clicking on ISET Robotics M1 2022, this is the home page that you see. On this home page, looking underneath the UNISA logo, when you go down and scroll, there is written session recordings. When you click on session recordings, this is the page that you see. Oh, and by the way, the reason why we upload our recordings here, it is because the UNISA MOOC portal is 0 rated, meaning that as soon as you log in using your data doesn't get used. So now this is where you will find all our recordings for the previous sessions that we've been hosting. I hope I was clear. And if you do have any questions regarding how to log in or how to find which document in this ISET Robotics M1 MOOC, please indicate so on the i-set@unisa.ac.za. Is it clear, Peggy?
It's very clear. I've already registered and I've gone through to the ISET. Welcome to ISET Robotics M1 MOOC, but I could not find the recordings. I missed the part of the recordings.
So as I've explained, was it clear? Did you see where I found the recordings?
I missed that part because I was looking at the ISET Robotics M1 2020. So the recordings, you go below UNISA logo.
Yeah. Just underneath the UNISA logo on the left tab down there, that's where you find session recordings. And when you click on session recordings, this is where you'll find them.
Okay, I will find it. Thank you so much.
All right, then. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Hose.
Much appreciated.
No problem, Mr. Biggie.
Thank you. Becky, if you want to ever get some more information, Tumelo is on the ISET email. You're welcome to send him an email and he'll gladly help you as well. You and any of your teachers.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Pleasure. All right. Okay. I see we've got quite a few questions on the chat here. All right, let me just go up here quickly. Okay, so
yes, there's a question from Ms. C. van der Berg. She says, can you please explain what tank means?
Okay, so tank is really when your two wheels, if you have, I'm gonna maybe, I'm sitting here speaking with my hands, and so if you've got a robot, here we go. Yes, we've got a robot. So if you've got a robot and you let both wheels rotate at the same power, then it's move steering, because then it'll go forward. Move tank means you make the power settings for the two wheels different. And so the one with a higher setting will then move this way. All right. So if you have these two wheels and this one has the higher power setting, it'll move that way. It's almost like these big army tanks. That's where it comes from. And so that is move tank. So some kids or some teams use that as navigation. All right. So that's the question. I just want to go back. I see Tato's here. Yes, Tato, that's why I invited you to these sessions. If you want to apply, it is online for the short learning program. The short learning program, the registrations will start in October, and that is for the first semester of 2023. Okay. If you have sent emails to the UNISA Center for Lifelong Learning, UCL, they will handle your registration. And if you are really struggling, you can send me an email. I'm not in the not in my office. I'm in my home office at the moment. Okay, but you do need to have there's kind of a balance. So the short learning program that the registrations will only now open to start in January of 2023. In the meantime, you are more than welcome to join us here in these live online learning sessions. Anzani will add you to the mailing list, so you'll get your monthly schedule, and you are more than welcome to join us. We are also hosting a holiday program on the UNISA Science Campus, and you're more than welcome to come and visit us there. As Tumelo was explaining, all the sessions that we discuss here in the live online learning sessions are actually synchronized with the content that is available on the massive open online course. So it's a MOOC portal. It's available 24/7, and it's available till the end of November. No registrations required, no monies required. Welcome to the online community. Okay, so Tata, have I answered your question?
He's not in the meeting at the moment.
Oh, after all that.
He left a few minutes ago.
I thought that was a good, oh my word. Okay.
You can find it on the recording.
Okay, all right. Alpheus, the team is busy marking the portfolios. It's taking a little longer than we thought. Yes, as long as your email is on your portfolio, that is the where we're going to email your certificate to. And I see Tumelo's already answered that question as well. So there we go. All right. Any more hands? Any more questions that we've got? Thank you, Tumelo. You can see this is teamwork here. I mean, we just get the job done. All right. Anybody else? I don't know how many are here in the Gauteng area, but there is an expo as well, and the team will be there from tomorrow, Thursday, and tomorrow's Thursday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we'll be doing robotics workshops. And you're welcome to come and find us. It's the Kragdag Expo on power, and we've been invited to come and do robotics workshops. So you're welcome to come and find us there and come and chat to us. It'll be good to see you. And I think all children under 18 are free as well, so it's good. And yeah, but I'm looking forward to meeting everybody from KZN. Dorothy and I are busy planning, and so hopefully we'll have a plan together for our September visit. Although the Limpopo visit is closer, so we need to get that sorted out. All right. Anybody else got any questions to ask? Anybody? We've got a little bit of time left, and so I think what we're going to do, Sylvia is sitting here with me. We've got two robots of very different designs. So this is one robot. It's got a single arm, but we'll do arms and powered attachments only in M2. But for now, this is just a little robot with wheels, and it's got a brain. And so Sylvia is going to graciously just kind of explain to you how to program this robot, aren't you, Sylvia? She says,
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're going to share the screen quickly. And that said, we do need to figure out, there we go, that one. All right, so I just need, can everybody see this?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so Sylvia is going to just entertain you with some Spike Prime programming just for the fun of it, and hopefully you grab this excitement and enthusiasm. So we're going to do a 15-minute robotics programming what. All right, Sylvia, over to you.
You can do that. Okay, this is going to cover Spike Prime, but the EV3 Classroom app looks very, very similar to this, almost exactly the same.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Sylvia's right in front. There we go.
But we're having navigation issues here with the chairs. Yeah, okay, so if you are very new to the robotics and everything, chances are you're going to end up with a spike prime and not an EV3. They work very similarly and at the same time, not at all. Don't let that confuse you. So, okay, introducing you just to the main program. When you start your program, you're going to get the home page. There's a little start intro that introduces the motors and the sensors. You can let the kids go through that. I would suggest the teachers go through it too beforehand. It's extremely short, and I don't think it will take you longer than 20 minutes to do all of it. There's also individual units, which have little problems and little missions and things you can do. The one for First Lego League is also here if you want to start with that one. Very handy resource. They just do like little walkthroughs, give you little challenges. Quite cute. There's building instructions as well, and then a list of all the projects you have before. That's important to know too. So in this case, it's like start a new program. Okay, we've got project 1. Up here you can see our brick was connected, but it's switched off at the moment to save battery. No, it's okay, I'll get it. Just quickly start this thing up. Yeah, the robots don't like being left alone for too long, so then they just turn themselves off at one point, which is fine. They're allowed to do that. Oopsie. Okay, that beeping is the robot trying to connect, so let's just get it. Sounds like a bomb about to go off. There we go. Okay, back to project. And you can see our hub is now successfully connected. So if I click on the little hub picture, it shows me what is plugged in to my hub. And so the screen is very large. And there we go. Scroll down. Okay, so this shows you what you've got plugged into which ports on your hub. In this case, we've got 4 motors plugged in everywhere. And this is also, if you want to measure the amount of degrees, if you can't take an actual measurement with a ruler because it's too small, then you would go down from rotations to degrees. So 1 rotation equals 360 degrees. And then you would also do your maths a little bit differently, but you can also just connect it to Bluetooth and then physically move the motors with your hands. So you can see in the bottom corner here, E, I'm busy turning the wheel by hand, and you can see that the degrees go up and go down. You can do your measurements like that. And then you've got all the programs that are on the robot currently, and I don't know why it says no data, but anyways, you can also see the battery level of the hub here at the top. That's one reason why Patricia mentioned your classes shouldn't go on longer than an hour and a half, because if the robot, especially if you're running the robot constantly, you will drain the battery very, very quickly. And so you can work for like 45 minutes and then take a 10-minute break. And every single time you leave your robot alone, you plug it into a charger. With the EV3, it plugs into a wall charger. With the Spike Prime, you can leave it plugged into your laptop as long as your laptop's on power. Okay, you can see at the top, it also shows you which motors are plugged in where. Okay, so starting with a very strange looking interface. This is your programming canvas. So all your work you do is going to be on here. Everything is drag and drop. You've got your block palette where you select all your things, and you can see they have nice little headings. In our case, we're working with navigation, so we're working with motors and then movement. So motors are for individual motors like arms and other attachments. You can also do one-wheel turns just using one motor. And then movement is a little bit like the move tank. You move both wheels on the same set of, it's your driving wheels essentially. So you can see when, the nice thing about the Spike program is you can just read it. So in this case, when the program starts, it's going to play a little beep, just so we know that the program is starting and we can move our hands out of the way. We're going to set the movement speed to 50% because we do not want the robot violently driving off the table. Generally, when you're starting off, 50% is a very good number to start at. Any slower than that, and the kids are going to get very frustrated, and you're going to be standing around doing nothing for a long time. Any faster than that, and things can get unpredictable. So to start off with, start everything on 50% with arms and anything with gears. You're going to need to test the speed there first before you start allocating, because if you're gearing up, then obviously you'll need to move the motor a lot more. If you're gearing down, you'll need to move the motor a lot less. Sorry, you move it at a slower speed or faster speed to try and get it to do what you want. And also, again, higher the speed, less accuracy, lower the speed, more standing around. And a lot of the competitions are time-based, so you don't want to waste time driving forward, or if you're coming back from a mission, you can always drive 100% because you don't need to be accurate then. You just need to make sure the robot gets back to a safe place. Okay, sorry. And then obviously you're setting the movement motors to A and E in this case, are the driving wheels. I can show you if you look at the top, you'll see they'll turning the wheels by hand, they're moving. Okay.
Sorry, Sylvia.
Yeah.
We still see one page that says turn on the hub, activate Bluetooth. That's the page that you are currently seeing.
Is it stuck?
Yes.
Oh no. Okay, I
Wait
think.
a minute.
I think.
Oh, now I can see the page where there's programming on the project.
Oh, wait, but that means you got stuck all the way from the hub getting connected.
Okay, let's just go.
I know.
Let's go. I'm going to stop sharing, and then we're going to share again.
Yeah.
We're going to just
Let
share
me
the
check
screen.
by the way. Eh?
Okay, yeah. There we go.
Okay, is that better?
Screen's all the better.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, now you're all the way at the hub connecting.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, can you see the hub now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the hub. This will show you whatever you have plugged into the hub currently if your robot is connected. So
Yeah.
in this case, you'll see the little Bluetooth button is on in this case. That means it's connected via Bluetooth. If it's plugged in by cable, it will, I think it shows something else in that case. And it's also sort of obvious if it's plugged in with a cable, but okay.
A quick question. Sorry to cut you there.
Yeah, it's okay.
So does A, E, B, and F, are those ports where you plug in?
Yes.
In the case of the EV3 has got 4 ports at the top of the hub and 4 ports at the bottom of the hub. 4 of them are numbered. Those are input ports. And 4 of them have letters. They are the output ports. So all your sensors that need to give sensor information back to the hub, those will be in inputs, and those will be the numbers. And all your outputs, such as the motors will be plugged into the letters, which are outputs. In the case of the Spike Prime, there are 6 ports in total, 3 on either side. They are input-output ports. You can plug anything in anywhere. Generally, you would try and keep your wheels sort of parallel, opposite each other, but depending on how your brick is situated on your robot, some of the ports might be easier to get to. For example, I think you can still see the camera as well. No, it would only be the screen. Okay. If we get the camera back on eventually.
Yes. We can see both. We can see your shared screen.
Yeah, you can see me too.
itself,
Okay,
yes.
there we go. I'll stop pulling funny faces then. In this case, you can see the hub is situated sideways. It's supposed to be like that, situated sideways. So in this case, the 2 wheels, sorry, now I need to flip it around. The 2 wheels are actually plugged into A and E.
All right.
So if I move A and move E,
I
those
see
will be the ones moving, yeah.
changes the degrees
And then
there.
these, at the very bottom, these 2 large motors
Mhm.
are, well, they go through to the top of the robot, and there's currently an arm on one of them, but generally when you have gears, you can't move the arms by hand because there's too much resistance and you don't want to break the gears. That's also another thing you should keep track of. That's also why you don't start with 50% power for everything. Sometimes you start slow. Also, in the case of what I was showing you about the input-output wires, these also don't have clips on them, and then you can plug these in anywhere along the side. If I go plug this into a different port now, I think you'll see one of the motors disappeared, and then plug it back in. See, I've now moved motor E
E to C.
to
I
port
see.
C.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well
So you
done.
see what I mean.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a question from Ms. C. von der Berg. She says, what type of microprocessor is inside the Spark Prime?
I have got absolutely no idea, but I do know there is a document out there that does have that written on it.
All right.
I've got, I'm sorry, I don't have any ideas about that one. Oh, also the charging port on the, on the Spike Prime is a USB Mini. So you can actually plug it in on the cell phone charger as well. That's not to say that when you plug it into the computer, you do need a data cable, not a, again, since you didn't see what I showed earlier, there's also manage programs up here where you see all your programs and where it is. The Spike Prime does not have a screen.
Yeah.
It just has a assortment of pixels. So you'll see here on the side it shows 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. and so on. That is what, when you're selecting your programs on the hub, that's what you'll use. And then again, I pointed out here at the top is where the battery shows. So in this case, it's at 80%.
Another question, please. Don't close there, please. Go
Oh,
back.
sorry. Okay, it's fine. We can get back to it. And people can see where I'm clicking.
Programs.
Yeah. No, sorry, what's the question?
Kindly please go back to manage programs.
Manage programs, yes.
Yes. So you said where it's written LED, that's where your saved programs you are found, right?
No. This is showing you what is on your hub. LED shows you what spot on your hub it's taking up. This is the this is the only display that the yeah, okay, I'm gonna dismantle this robot a little bit and take off the arm so I can actually show you clearly. If you can see the heart.
Please move it a bit forward to the camera. There we go. Yes.
Okay, I'm holding a little bit sideways, but yeah, this is all you see is the numbers.
Yes.
There's nothing else on here.
There's no names of the program.
There's no names of the program, nothing. So this is all you'll see. And so when you're in your project, which I'm going to go back, when you're in your project, you'll see up here is project 1, and it is taking up slot 2. Slot 2.
Meaning that if you're looking for project 1, you need to click on slot 2. I mean,
yeah, in this case, it's the names do not correspond to the number. You have to make them correspond. In this case, you'll see project 1 is in fact in slot 2. It was modified an hour ago, and it was created on August 10th, whatever that is. Here you can also rearrange your programs manually if you want to. I would not suggest you do that. Just in case you get yourself mixed up. And also when you are programming, when you are busy with many missions at a time, get yourself a piece of paper or a book. Every time you make a new program or a new project, start writing it down and say what it does. If you can see here, we've got one that says B-ball. So then you know if you're on program 7, it's the B-ball mission, whichever that one may be. It's not just project 1 and project 2.
Sorry to cut you there, Sylvia. This is I made this very interactive. I see also Ms. van der Berg is also interacting with us via the chats.
Yeah.
She's asking, so if I understand correctly, the brain can save more than one program at a time.
Yes, the EV3 has a much larger storage capacity. So that one can store quite a lot of programs, a lot more than this. The Spike Prime is limited to 20 at the moment, starting with 0, going all the way up to 19.
But we can extend it.
All right. Before I ask any questions for online participants, do you have any questions? Because I'm just trying to make this very interactive. And thank you so much, Sylvia, for your presentation as well. Does anyone have any questions regarding the Spark Prime? If you don't mind, could you kindly please go back to that page and then tell us more about what? Oh, there's a question from Beggy. I like this. Go for it, Beggy.
No, thank you so much. We are following. You know, it's more theoretical. We see, but I think it will be easier once we have the resources. You know, when we look at the robot and we look at the process. You know, almost all the what is she's showing us. But the problem now is too theoretical. No thanks, but we are following.
It's coming, Becky. It's coming.
You'll hear my voice playing back in your mind when you start looking at these things. You'll right. I remember she said something about this and something about that. As long as you somewhat remember that it exists, because if you ask me where do you see if your brick's connected, yeah, I'm going to be very upset because I've pointed out like 6 times already.
Okay.
It's just so that you know it exists.
Yes.
So that you know what it is somewhat capable of. That you remember vaguely there was something about that. Also, just all the theoretical stuff, and I didn't show you how to download a program. Here at the bottom, there are 2 very big buttons. One of them is a play button,
which is very dangerous.
It's a very dangerous button, I call it, because if you press this button, the program is going to download and then immediately run. Meaning, if your robot is not safely on an FRL table with borders on it and it's in somebody's hand, or even worse, right next to the laptop on the edge of an actual desk, it is going to drive off the edge of a table or fall out of the kid's hand because the motor started running. Luckily, you can stop it then, but at that point it probably
It's
hit
too
the floor.
late.
It's too late. So again, here where you see the LED matrix,
That's where you download it.
this is the little download button. It's right here in the corner, and be sure that you don't click halfway in between. You need to click download, and that will just download it onto the hub, and then you can. Yeah, sorry, there's no feedback on this one. You just have to believe that it's downloaded. So you can press it twice for good measure.
Sylvia, when you say there's no feedback, do you mean, for example, with the EV3 sound,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
EV3 robot, immediately when you click on download, there is that da-da-da-da.
Yes.
All right.
In the case of the Spike, there is no sound when you download it. If you download and run, the robot makes a noise when the programs start. And so when you download and run, you can hear the start sound. So if you hear the start sound and the robot is not safely on an FL table with borders or on the floor, then there's a problem. And then somebody can quickly grab it. In the case of downloading it from here, it doesn't make a sound. So I would suggest just always download it twice. But again, just be careful when clicking here because otherwise you change to the next storage position. Just have to make sure it's like nicely in the corner. Yeah.
All right.
We're going to have to move to the next session. Sylvia can really, thank you so much, Sylvia, for sharing this with us. I just want to see how do we get out of this here? I think we can have Sylvia as a feature on stop presenting.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
If you have any questions about the programming or the logic in the programming, you can also send it to the ISET people and they will forward it to me.
There we go.
And by that I mean if you don't know how to program something that you think is possible, then I will be able to help you with that.
I think we're going to take Sylvia with us on our workshop to Becky, to the KZN area. All right. Thank you, everybody. Tamela, do you want to quickly close the session? And then we'll take a 2-minute break and then we'll join the Unit 4.
I don't want to close the session, but because of time, thank you so much.
She's staying here. She'll be back in the next session, I promise.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Dr. Host. Thank you, Casper. Thank you to our online participants. Thank you so much for the chat questions. For those that are watching the recording, thank you so much as well for watching the recording. For the live participants, just go and grab yourself a cup of tea and join us on the upcoming next session. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, everybody. See you in 2 minutes.
Right.